So I saw somebody ask a question about how to add stereo depth to their music, and I thought that I would just make a video of some of the techniques that I use that work for me um, to do just that. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about, or the first technique that I'm going to talk about, is the Haas effect. And essentially, how the Haas effect works is it tricks your brain by delaying um, either the left or right channel by just a little bit, and we're talking milliseconds here. But that delay tricks your brain into thinking that the sound that you're hearing is um, farther out on the left or the right side. And I have a device that mimics this, but we can build one from scratch with a delay or an echo. Let's take a look at this clav sound, or take a listen to this clav sound. Delete that and hear it without the delay in there. So big difference, right? Um, One thing I'm going to point out is that because this is a lower end sound, um, I have a crossover in here so that anything below 340 um, is going to get passed on untouched, and anything above 340 is then going to get the Haas effect added to it. Um, and 340 is just sound. I tweaked it around until I found it right where I wanted it, but I would say that 200 hertz is probably the minimum that you would want to stop it at. Um, so what I'm going to do is from my crossover, all of my higher end sounds are coming out of this output. Let's see. And so what I want to do is I want to add a delay or an echo. And I'm going to unroute those, and I'm going to take my left audio that's coming directly from my clav or from my crossover. I'm going to go into the channel 1 on my mixer with just the left. All right. And I'm going to take my right output, and I'm going to go into the left channel of my delay line. And I'm going to go from my left channel delay line output to my left channel on my channel 2 on my mixer. All right. So I have the audio output from my synth going into my mixer on the left side, channel 1. And I have my audio output from my delay going into the left channel on channel 2. And then what I need to do is I need to change my delay to milliseconds. I'm going to drop this down to 8 milliseconds. I usually keep it between 8 and 10 milliseconds. I want to turn my feedback up halfway and keep my dry wet all the way up. All right. And normally these wouldn't be panned, but what I want to do is I want to pan the two separate channels. All right. So this is what it'll sound like without the Haas effect. We can pull that back a little bit by just adjusting our panning. So that's the Haas effect. So another really useful technique is panning within your instruments. The cool thing about this synth is that it allows me to pan each operator individually. Um, Now, some devices don't allow you to pan individual operators, and what I tend to do is duplicate those. For example, let's take a good one would be Thor. So Thor has three oscillators in this case. They're not operators. But Thor only has one pan. So I can't actually pan the different oscillators individually. But what I can do is I can create one synth, and then I can duplicate that synth several different times, and then do the panning in my on my mixer. So let's just. All right. So what I'll do is, let's say we'll add another sawtooth. I'm going to do the microtune. I'm going to just tune this a little. We can add another one. Let's drop this down an octave, and we'll drop this down to like -9. All right, so that's not really, it doesn't sound too stereo the way that is, but if I were to just duplicate this, so what I'm doing here is I'm turning off these two oscillators, so they're not actually coming through this device. And here I will turn off those two oscillators, and here I will turn off those two oscillators. Now we just need to route them. And let's close these up. And now I'm going to, because my second two oscillators, remember I dropped the first oscillator down an octave. My second two oscillators are pretty much the same oscillators, just detuned from each other. I'm going to leave the one that we dropped down an octave. I'm going to leave that in the middle, because the other two oscillators are close to being identical. They're just off slightly. So that's going to help with the stereo field. So I'm just going to pan the other two oscillators. So we got a good amount of stereo field just from duplicating our synths or oscillators and just detuning the oscillators that we're going to pan, just detune them slightly from each other. And that gives a great depth of field. And in the previous device that I used, where I was showing you all the operators I was able to pan individually, I pretty much did that on each operator. So if we look at our fine here, it's 0, 0, but we changed an octave. We're down a little bit there, up a little bit there, down a little bit there. And by doing that, we also add depth of field without the need to duplicate our devices a whole lot. So just think about it this way. Anytime you have a duplicate of a sound and you alter that duplicate just slightly, when you pan the original and the duplicate in opposite directions, you're going to get stereo field. And that's because your brain notices those small nuances, and it sounds like one is coming from over to the left, and the other sound is coming to the right because you have those sounds panned that way. But that concept works with pretty much anything. If you're doing, phasing or delay or chorus, or a lot of the changing just the fine tuning of the sound, like we did before. Any of those things where the sound is slightly altered from the original and panned differently from the original is going to add stereo field.